everyone, Cassidy Harris, Public Relations Manager. If you live in Columbia County, you've seen growth, both residential and commercial. Well, today for our A to Z and CC, we're going to learn more about building standards and the people behind the inspections, making sure everything's built to code. Join me as we learn more. Joining me today is Preston Cruz, our Building Standards Manager, and we're going to talk to you about their inspectors, what they're responsible for, so that you can learn a little bit more about commercial and the residential side of development. So Preston, tell us about your team first of all. How many inspectors do you currently have, and what are they responsible for?
Currently we have 7 inspectors in the field. Our guys are trained to inspect everything from framing, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, top to bottom. So that makes us a little bit different than most jurisdictions where they're trade specific for the most part. We have areas instead of our inspectors having to run all the way across the county every day. We have one inspector will cover an area, say Appling, for example. So he gets familiar with all the jobs that he's a part of and he knows them from top to bottom. We have some that are cross-trained for commercial and residential, but for the most part, there's more residential inspections, more houses on the ground. So most of them are strictly residential.
So how often are they having to be recertified, stay up to date with trainings and things that are changing? Is that every year or how often is that?
Yeah, so our certifications typically have to be renewed every 3 years. We have to have CEUs, a certain number of CEUs depending on how many certifications you have. So the more certs you have, the more CEUs you have to have. We do that through all kinds of trainings from online. We do a lot of electrical trainings because that's one of the more difficult ones to keep up with is the changes with the electrical code. But we go out of town to conferences that have trainings from plumbing to framing and everything in between.
And why is it important to have this department? What function do you provide for the county? I know making sure that everything's built to code, but can you give us an overview of the importance behind making sure everything is up to code with electrical and plumbing and framework?
So the importance of what we do is it's safety that's our ultimate goal. The codes are a minimum, so everything constructed has to at least meet that minimum code. There's codes for everything from mechanical, plumbing, electrical, framing, and then you go into commercial and there's even more. As long as structures are built to the minimum code, they're deemed to be safe for anybody to go into.
I know it varies every year because of how fast a neighborhood may be growing. It may be they're adding 500 homes one year, but then the next year they may have another phase where it's just 200. So it might be hard to give me an idea of how many inspections you do annually, but could you give us an overview of what you've typically seen within the past 2 or 3 years?
So in the last 2 or 3 years, it's been pretty constant. Typically on a daily basis, right now we're having anywhere from 100 to 150 inspections a day. And that's split between 7 inspectors. Because of the way we run things and being cross-trained, we're able to handle that efficiently.
Could you give us an overview of an average day for your inspectors? What does their day look like?
Our inspectors get here at 7, some of them earlier. They come in, they pull up the lists on the computer. They go through all the inspections they have to do that day. They try to organize their schedule, their route, that kind of thing. Sometimes it's based on the type of inspection that they have, if it needs to be done in the morning or the afternoon. A lot of times people want you to do a concrete inspection in the morning so that they can pour that afternoon. They get everything organized and they're out the door. Get as many inspections in as they can, and if they happen to get done early, they call to try to help another inspector out. And once all the inspections are completed, they come back in the office, and that's where if anything were to fail, they would input all of their notes in the system. Basically, they're done for the day.
So if someone were interested in this field of work, what would you say to them to encourage them to maybe apply? Is there anything that they should need before applying? Any words of wisdom that you could give someone?
Obviously, construction experience is beneficial, down to terminology and stuff like that, but I mean, we've hired people that were as green as they could be in regards to construction because it's about It's about knowing the codes and being able to pick things out in the field when you're there and say this does or this doesn't meet code. So it doesn't really matter. You can come from any walk of life and be a successful inspector and be good at your job.
And a willingness to learn is also very important. Preston, thank you for your time today. We appreciate everything that you do, your team does, and until next time, we'll see you later.